Today on Inquirer, President Marcos tells Congressman Teves to return to the Philippines.
So, mas maaga kang makauwi, mas marami pang opsyon ang mapangyayari. Pero pagka masyado ng late, wala na, mapipilitan ang gobyerno, we will have to move without any discussions with him.
President Bongbong Marcos confirms that new Edca sites will rise in Palawan and the northern and southern parts of the country. Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Juan Ponce Enrile wants to scrap the constitutional ban on nuclear weapons. And Land Transportation Office to impose cap on driving schools fees. Good evening. President Bongbong Marcos warns Negros Oriental Representative Teves that government will be forced to move without any discussions with him should he remain out of the country. Here's Jean Mangaluz reporting live. Jean?
Well, Neil, President Marcos Jr. issued a stern warning to Negros Oriental Representative Teves, who's still outside of the country. Marcos said that Teves should return to the Philippines lest the government will be forced to move without any discussions with him. The president said that as time goes by, Teves' situation will only become harder. Teves has been linked to the killing of Negros Oriental Governor Degamo and 8 other victims after the suspects tagged him as the alleged mastermind in the governor's killing. The embattled representative said that he seeks an audience with Marcos Jr., saying that he might be compelled to return home if the chief executive asks him to. He said that this is because Marcos has more authority over the government and may be more capable of protecting him. The embattled representative has previously questioned why he is being singled out for his absence in Congress, as other lawmakers have also prolonged absences from their duties. Teves is there to release the attendance records for the past and current Congress to show that he's not a habitual absentee. The House is set to decide on the committee recommendations on Teves' absences, but even the House Committee on Ethics and Privileges has refused to divulge what their recommendations are. However, Teves believes that there is an operation against him, which made it all the way to the House Ethics Panel. Teves has refused to go back to the Philippines, saying that there's a threat against his life. Marcos, however, has assured him that security will be provided upon his return. Marcos said that Teves is rich and that he has a private jet, so he could land in the Air Force Base, where he'll be surrounded by soldiers. The president assured Teves that no one will be able to come near him. Justice Secretary Boying Remulla, however, said that Teves should quit the drama and that he should just go home.
Umuwi na lang siya kung meron siyang pagkaalinlangan. He should just go home. Tama na yung arte. Masyado siya maarte.
That's Jean Mangaluz reporting live. Department of the Interior and Local Government Secretary Benjamin Abalos Jr. says 5 more individuals with direct participation in the killing of Negros Oriental Governor Degamo have surrendered to authorities. Abalos, who chairs Special Task Force Degamo, says the 5 are now under the custody of the National Bureau of Investigation. He adds that there are now a total of 10 suspects under police custody. According to Abalos, most of these suspects were former military men. The DILG chief says that the suspects are set to undergo tactical interrogation. On March 21, 4 other suspects surrendered through the Armed Forces of the Philippines. They were allegedly the main players in the attack on Degamo that also left 8 more people dead. President Bongbong Marcos confirms that a new Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement or Edca sites will rise in the northern and southern parts of the country as well as in Palawan. Here's John Eric Mendoza with his report.
President Bongbong Marcos Jr. announced that 4 new Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement or Edca sites will rise in northern and southern parts of the country as well as in Palawan.
We'll make a formal announcement, but yes, they have been identified and we can already before I announce it, we will formalize it with our partners, the United States. There are 4 extra sites scattered around the Philippines. There are some in the north, there are some around Palawan, there are some further south. So, iba-iba talaga.
However, it can be recalled that aside from Palawan, military officials previously identified Cagayan, Zambales, and Isabela as possible Edca sites. Also, Cagayan Governor Manuel Mamba publicly expressed his opposition with the installation of Edca facility in his province. But Marcos said he has reached out to other local officials who expressed objections with Edca sites.
We explained to them why it was important that we have that and why it will actually be good for their province. And mukha namang naintindihan nila because most of the those who had interposed some objections are really right now naintindihan naman nila, and they've come around to support the idea of an Edca site in their province.
Currently, there are 5 predetermined Edca sites in Palawan, Pampanga, Nueva Ecija, Cebu, and Cagayan de Oro City. The Edca was signed by Manila and Washington in 2014. For INQUIRER.net, this is John Eric Mendoza.
Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Juan Ponce Enrile wants to scrap the constitutional ban on nuclear weapons in the country. The politician says the ban on nuclear weapons was imposed by the administration of former President Corazon Aquino, who took office after the ouster of President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. in the 1986 People Power Revolution. The restriction on nuclear weapons is stated in Article 2, Section 8 of the 1987 Constitution.
An opinion that is the most serious and unwanted provision of the Constitution. In the modern world today, a small country can protect itself against the superpowers if they have nuclear weapons. We should remove that restriction and make the country flexible. If we can afford it, we should also have nuclear weapons so that our people will not be trampled upon.
Enrile also points out the need to have nuclear power as an alternative fuel to boost the economy, noting that supplies of oil and natural gas are already dwindling. Senator Robin Padilla, the leading proponent of the charter change bid at the Senate, then asks Enrile if these proposed reforms in the Constitution were urgent. To which Enrile replied that it's necessary to amend it, but not to the extreme of opening it immediately. Next on Inquirer today, Land Transportation Office to impose cap on driving schools fees. Senate probe into delays in processing SSS benefits sought. And INQUIRER.net report wins in 2023 Lasallian Scholarum Awards. This Inquirer Today will be back shortly.
Hello, I'm Paul Sumayaw.
I'm Jedi Directo, and we're owners of Barbera Barbershop here in Degamo.
Barbera is a wordplay between Barbie, which is kind of also a slur, no? Especially sa mga effeminate gays. But there was a viral video that came out, nasabi ko na nga ba Barbie? Parang there was na may batang pumili ng Barbie. We kind of led with that. And Barbie has always been associated with kabaklaan. And then we also paired it with barbero, which is, the Filipino term for barbers. Sabi nila, haircuts are generally historically gendered, no? Barbershops are for men, salons are for women. And that's what Barbera is for. We wanted to create that conversation na hindi kailangan, may gender distinction ang haircuts ng babae at lalaki or anyone in between. Coming from personal experience, would take two brothers to the barbershop. Kahit out and proud ako nun sa Camarines where I was young, I was in my teens. Still, it's uncomfortable because parang they would look at me. I had to sort of scale down the way I look, imbes na I would go for the floral prints. Pag pupunta kami sa barbero ng kapambahayan, maluwag na basketball shorts. So I would borrow from uncles or cousins. That level of discomfort pa lang without even someone initiating it is really, kind of a horrific experience na parang nagagaling sa loob.
It's really more trying to act, boyish, diba? Kasi parang that's how you want to get treated normally, diba? Parang I was always conscious of, not trying to be too effeminate. Nung bata ako, conscious ako doon kasi parang may uncles, may titas would always call me out on that, diba? Kasi parang dapat lalaki ganito.
Being a safe space essentially means that you're able to become your authentic self within that space. Kasi if may spaces na hindi safe for you, then of course you'd actually essentially look for a safe space. We would encounter customers, especially the trans-masculine customers. They kind of like the fact that we address them properly, especially yung mga, the trans-masculine lesbians. They kind of like the fact na we address them as sir or boss or chief. Kind of a horrifying story for them na pag pumunta sila ng salon, ma'am. Pag pumunta sa barbershop, ma'am pa din. May mga customers kami who would open up na sila mismo yung nag-open up, and that's how we liked it. Kasi the fact that they're opening up, that's a good sign for us na we're doing our job as a safe space.
Yung training talaga pinaka tumatak sa isip ko doon yung parang discrimination. Lahat ng nakakasalumuha mo, hindi mo pala alam yung tunay na gender, ganun. Baga parang respect mo lang.
We're trying to think about like parang what a queer barbershop should actually look like. Basically, we kind of like settled on the idea na it doesn't really have to parang show its queerness right off the bat, but announcing ourselves as queer owners who welcome anybody, diba, in this safe space. Yeah. Yun is enough.
The Land Transportation Office will begin imposing caps on driving school fees nationwide starting April 15. In a press briefing, LTO Chief J.R. Tugades says the maximum total prescribed fee for the motorcycle course is 3,500 pesos or 1,000 pesos for the theoretical driving course and 2,500 pesos for the practical driving course. Meanwhile, the maximum total prescribed fee for the light vehicle course is 5,000 pesos or 1,000 pesos for the theoretical driving course and 4,000 pesos for the practical driving course. But Tugade reminds aspiring drivers that theoretical driving courses are also available at LTO's regional offices for free. Meanwhile, driving schools that fail to comply on the first offense will be fined 50,000 pesos and suspended for 6 months. The second offense will incur a 100,000 peso fine and 1-year suspension, while the third offense would result in the revocation of the driving school's accreditation. Senator Rafi Tulfo asks the Senate panel on social justice, welfare, and rural development to investigate the delays in processing social security system benefits and pensions. Senator Tulfo filed Senate Resolution 544 calling for the committee to look into the reported long and tedious system of processing SSS benefits, especially retirement claims. He says in his resolution that the delays cause difficulties for retirees who are relying on their benefits for daily living. He also stresses on the Senate's responsibility to ensure that government agencies like the SSS are efficiently performing their duties to the public. Tulfo calls to probe on the existing process and average time to claim SSS benefits, the reasons for delays and how it's being addressed, and the possible reforms to improve the processing. His resolution also calls to look into the feasibility of extending period for filing claims and doing it online, the need for additional funding and manpower in SSS, and the possible establishment of a monitoring system for tracking and updating of members' claims. An INQUIRER.net report on special education for children with special needs was recognized as outstanding online feature article on youth and education in this year's Lasallian Scholarum Awards. The special report, Zero Budget for Special Education in 2023 Makes SPED Law Meaningless, was written on October 4, 2022 by Kurt de la Peña, a content researcher and writer for INQFocus. INQFocus is an INQUIRER.net channel devoted to research, features, and special reports. The winning report laid down how the SPED program in public schools is needed, especially by poor children, and how the non-inclusion of the program in the 2023 National Expenditure Program could impact a law to strengthen inclusive education. Meanwhile, INQUIRER.net's short documentary Sinking Island was also recognized as one of the finalists for the category Outstanding Video Feature Story on Youth and Education. The Lasallian Scholarum Awards is De La Salle University's yearly media recognition program for outstanding coverage of youth and education stories. This year's awarding was held on March 22. Alamin naman natin ang mainit na balita sa mundo ng showbiz kasama si Irvin Santiago ng Bandera. Irvin?
Hi Neil at sa lahat ng mga kabandera natin all over the universe. Ito na nga ang latest Bandera Chika. Hindi ako kabit. Yan ang matapang na pahayag ng kapamilyayang actress na si Kira Ballinger matapos madamay sa pakikipaghiwalay ng kapuso actor na si Kelvin Miranda sa kanyang jowang model at social media influencer. May chismis kasi na si Kira raw ang dahilan kung bakit naghiwalay ang kapuso actor at si Rosel Vitiaco. Base na rin sa mga ipinost ng dalaga sa Twitter, halos 3 buwan na ngayon ang nakararaan. Base sa mga tweet ni Rosel, si Kira raw ang dahilan kung bakit sila nagkasira ni Kelvin. Naglabas pa siya ng screenshots kung saan makikita ang palitan ng message ng dating magka-lab team. Depense naman ni Kira, never siyang naghabol at wala siyang inaagaw na lalaki kahit kanino. At gusto niyang ipagsigawan sa buong universe na hindi siyang dahilan kung bakit nakipaghiwalay si Kelvin sa GF nito. Pero in fairness, inamin naman ni Kira na may mali rin siya. Pero ipinagdiinan niya na malinis ang konsensya niya at wala siyang ginagawang masama.
Ako third wheel, kung ano po yung naging usapan nilang dalawa ng ex nila, wala po akong alam. Out na po ako doon, and if there's somebody that a girl should talk to, should be me. Pero ako, from a woman to another woman, I understand that pain na, uy, ba't may ganyan? Pero honestly, ako, from my point of view, wala po akong alam. And I'm confident to say na hindi ako kabit, kaya nang sinasabi ng lahat, like what she made me out to be. So, yun, wala po akong alam. But on my side, excluding her, may mali ako. To be fair, hindi kami ng chats lang yun. Those were just chats. Minsan hindi kami lumabas together. And in the lock-in, we had our PAs. It was always after the set, go to the room, sleep back. Stuff happens, unfortunately. Pero I did not break them up. And I'm very confident to say that. Because I do not steal men, I do not run after them, they come to me. And it was my mistake, I entertained one too many. And I am sorry for that. And I am making up for it. I took accountability for my actions.
At yan ang Bandera Chika natin today. Thanks, Neil.
Maraming salamat, Irvin, and these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Catch Inquirer Today live weekdays at 6 p.m. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.